10 myths about love. Love is the only thing you need, or love is enough. No, even though we all deserve love, as love being one of our basic needs, once you have love, you do not really have it and have the ability to maintain it unless there is compatibility between the partners. Love has no boundaries or protection mechanisms, or most so it is based on the notion of self-sacrifice. No, actually, love has healthy boundaries, so it is healthily selfish, so to speak, and it protects any parts within itself in a way that does not harm the other parts. Instead of self-sacrifice, love overflowing from one part to the other is what creates connection. Where a self-sacrifice builds on deprivation, and that in and of itself is unsustainable because it expects something in return. So no, self-sacrifice is a compromise, and compromise is the swear word because compromise implies sacrificing something that you don't even have. Instead, finding a common middle ground is a nicer way to go about things so that all parts end up being part of a beautiful symbiosis within the relationship. The expression of love is about worry. It's worrisome. No, the expression of love is freeing. True free love that has been opted into by any number of participants implies free will to decide whether or not to be a part of a relationship, the relationship or not. Whether or not to be part of the relationship. Freedom is felt within all parts of love. It provides the sensation of I can have me and I can have you too. Love is about having the pink glasses on. No, love has idealization as part of it, but it does see the negative. It can still decide based on the truth of another part whether to stick to the commitment of love itself or not. So the truth is seen, the truth is heard, the truth is felt, and then still unconditional love may pull over despite any of those quote unquote negative or painful experiences with regards to other parts or internal parts. In other words, the avoidance of the negative is not defining of love, because love involves anything that is part of the truth. It does not avoid conflict. It does not avoid confrontation whatsoever, but rather it faces it as soon as it occurs or is felt within the relationship, so as to provide an ability to improve on the situation. And the pace and fastness with which repair is made, so the time it takes to create repair between any number of parts, is what builds trust more and more within the relationship, and not avoiding confrontation or the negative, because pushing away creates more resistance. It creates more of what is, and what you resist persists. So no, love does not just build on positivity, even though appreciation and acts of love and love languages are very, very profound and effective ways to reinforce and maintain the positive aspects and attachment within the relationship. That's obvious. True belonging is felt where there is attachment because of separation. No, true belonging is felt and is present where attachment or infatuation is present despite separation. So separation does not have to imply that it's the very necessary step for love to be recognized, although it can occur as a step between two parts realize that they need each other because they belong together. But true belonging implies that love is present despite time and space. It overcomes distance, it overcomes thought, even. It overcomes the physical and the limits of the physical. For example, this is so much fun when you see mothers lift cars of their children. It's because of the faith present in their ability to maintain the love that is so strong, that gives inspiration to the mother. So even though two parts may have separated, they do not belong without each other. If anything, they may recognize consciously that they do belong together. And this has, again, to do with their sense of freedom. So when freedom is given, that is the only time, that is the only opportunity for love to truly be recognized, especially if the realization of separation has happened. Love is protective in a way that sometimes feels limiting. No, this point has to do with the point of about worry, because when love is protective, it must not be overprotective. There are certain stages in life, from the very first moment of a child being born and taking its first breath. There are stages that a child, a baby, a newborn goes through that require the parents, especially the mother, to not only protect the child but also let it free. And these stages vary, so you have to be very cautious with a newborn about when you let the newborn explore the world and when you choose to instead put your arms around the baby so it feels safe, because it really does matter that the child does not feel overprotected, because then it wants to only escape. And the child's ability to have and maintain faith and trust in themselves to carry out a certain exploration that they're about to face a certain task, a certain goal, a certain process, to execute anything that they want, that they have in front of themselves. A child has to feel free to at least the degree that it does not feel overprotected. So no, love does not always have to go before harm, because harm sometimes is inevitable for growth to happen. Individual growth, that is part of the unity of love, but the realization of the unification of love happens after space for all parts to explore has been given. So love waits for self-awareness to happen, and a safe possibility for love to happen, which implies all parts understanding each other without judging each other negatively by pushing away or feeling pain or making feel pain anymore. When attachment is maintained, love is maintained. I mean, not necessarily, because when we have attachments to people or things, we may feel like we love them, when in fact this could not really be further from the truth. Our definition of love may have nothing to do with another part's definition of love. But whether or not our definition is true to our beloved definition of love, the universal truth that all is one is still omnipresent. So regardless of whether you have an attachment to anything, you are able to give from what you have and show acts of kindness, for example, to it. If it's an internal part or an external part to yourself, by being detached. So love does not have to include attachment, because it just depends on the perspective, really. Like, what perspective do you look at your relationship from? The wider the perspective you hold in life, the greater your views about certain things, the more self-aware you are, and the less attached or entitled you may feel to certain things. But this does not have to imply that avoidance is necessary for love to happen, because avoidance is the opposite of anxious attachment. Avoidance implies that you do have an attachment to something, and you do feel impacted emotionally by something or someone, but still you decide to be rather unreactive than sticky or needy, so to speak. So you fall on the other end of the scale of attachment, which is passive in a way, when you are avoidant. But the lack of the presence of attachment is not avoidance. And although we sometimes associate attachment with love, the universal love for all things on earth and in existence cannot be changed, which is that all is one and all is part of one whole. I think this is the main reason why spirituality has become a thing, because like spirituality in terms of historical spirituality, so not just the New Age version, but also faith that has to do with God and religions. It serves in part to make people see and recognize that they're part of the whole, that they're not just the children of their parents, but they're also the children of God. So they're also the part of the family of God, which implies belonging that is unchangeable, that is out of their conscious choice. It's being part of a plan, and it still is. So that tends to give people security in terms of where they belong, or how loved they feel, and how believed in they feel, and how appreciated they feel in life, even if they get no external appreciation directly from people in their lives, especially people from whom they have expected that they would get the encouragement and appreciation from. So in the case of having faith in God, for example, one may choose to let go of certain attachments in order to recognize love, but then that is detachment, and that can still be changed with time. No, I don't personally think that attachment implies love directly, because I think love comes before attachment, but attachment also comes before commitment. This has to do with the next point. The only thing that creates true attachment and true love is commitment. No, it's not true that a person has to commit to another person, for example, if they want to feel like they belong to them. Why? Because if this was the case, then there would be no divorces. Like, people would marry and get attached and not divorce ever, because they have married. They're now committed, they're now attached. So no, any institutionalized form of love is not truly love if it does not involve attachment. Loyalty and love go hand in hand. No, loyalty is an expression that people use to describe fidelity. So basically monogamy or exclusivity with the partner, or two partners, or multiple partners. But that is not the whole picture to loyalty, because loyalty also implies an emotional commitment to love. So when loyalty is perceptible, trust is put in all parts that no matter what happens, the other part is held reliable and accountable for external support. So no matter what happens, trust keeps the relationship. But love can exist despite loyalty. Sometimes our emotional compasses are so meddled with that we actually believe that infidelity is more attractive than being loyal. And that is kind of an approach that sometimes tends to come from trauma, but at other times it's just a manifestation of a preference to be polyamorous. Sometimes it's just the preference to have multiple partners is just a expression of one's orientation for polyamory. And that should be normalized. The fact that marriage-based institutions involve or only two people marrying is just to reflect the fact that the most effective institution and safe way to raise a child is with the involvement of two parents. But that is changing now, so that is no longer the ultimate truth. People are raising children in all types of ways, and some children are raised, if not most children, in broken homes. So divorce is all the more common. So yeah, love may happen once, but it doesn't have to keep happening in order for it to still exist. Now, lastly, love and lust are one and the same. No. Lust is useful for creating and maintaining love, but it's not the only thing necessary to maintain love, because love is an emotional attachment more so than it is a physical desire based longing, right? So love is actually enforced and perpetuated by shared time, for example, by getting to know, by understanding, through understanding. And if this was not the case, then of course love and lust would be the same, but they're not. I mean, I can get attracted to multiple things or multiple people and multiple types of things of any sort, but that does not mean that I love them all even. So yeah, I would say that lust is kind of the hotbed for love to happen, but it's not the same as love, unfortunately, to some people.